Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I wanted to just make a quick update video, let you all know what I've been working on. Because I don't think I've posted in like 2.5 weeks or something like that. So right now what you're seeing on your screen is the official librephoenix.com website. This is sort of a project that has sort of been in the works for a little while, and I've just been working on it here and then on the side. And this last weekend, I finally sort of made the big push and got it all set up and running. This is a static website hosted on GitLab-pages, and it's powered by something called Jekyll, which is a Ruby program which allows you to create these beautiful looking web pages with all this templated HTML, and then very quickly create these templated web pages, including things like blog posts. And this is a built-in blogging engine complete with writing posts and even an RSS feed. And I only have one post here right now, and that post is actually how I put together this website. And it's really nice. It allows me to format things really cool here and make things in a very organized format. And what I'm hoping to do with this is anytime I make some sort of tutorial video, I'll have an associated written form of it on my blog, complete with code samples and all that good stuff, like you can sort of see here, so that you also have that to follow along with as you're looking at some of my tutorials, especially some of those NixOS tutorials. In fact, soon here when I get the chance, I'll probably backport some of my earlier NixOS tutorials into written format on my blog. So you can definitely be on the lookout for that. But today's topic is what this is. I just wanted to give a cursory overview because it is really cool. I'm not going to go into the full detail here, but if you want a little bit more detail, I have this all written up on my blog here, and I'll link that in the description down below. So basically what Jekyll does is it's a very efficient tool for converting essentially raw content like all this raw text and basic structure into a beautiful and neatly organized static site. Static site meaning it's just HTML and CSS. There's no server-side code running here. And so it's very minimal and it loads very quickly. And it's just overall a lot nicer than most of the modern web that we're used to. And so essentially, Jekyll can operate with Markdown and raw HTML as this content. And then again, it inserts it into this sort of templated structure that you have set up, your quote unquote theme. Since Emacs and Orgmode, it's very easy to convert org files into Markdown or HTML. You can, of course, write all of the blog posts in Orgmode and then just export them to HTML, which that HTML gets exported into the fancy looking, really neatly organized and nice static site via Jekyll. And if you're interested in using this sort of setup, I followed a guide from orgmode.org, this guide right here, to sort of get started. And what that guide recommends is starting by creating a project directory like my awesome blog right here, and then just having two directories, a Jekyll directory, which would be the Jekyll project. That's where Jekyll is going to do all of its work. And then you'd have an org directory, which is where you would write all of the Orgmode documents. Of course, if you don't use Orgmode, you would only need the Jekyll directory. From this, you can grab a Jekyll theme from online. And there are many, many different Jekyll themes. And you can just sort of choose any of these that you like and usually get going right away just by cloning the themes Git repo into the Jekyll directory and building and running it from there. Now, Jekyll is a Ruby program, and a lot of the Jekyll themes will require some other dependencies not needed by the base Jekyll. So most themes are managed by a tool called Bundler. Bundler is kind of like a Python virtual environment. It's a declarative management of all of the dependencies necessary for the theme or the project in its entirety. And what it sort of looks like here is something like this. So you have something called a gem file and gemfile.lock, and all sorts of other files that get included in the actual theme. And this would be embedded in whatever theme that you clone into this Jekyll directory. And all the dependencies are installed with Bundler. So if you want to get going here, then you'll need to install Bundler from your package manager. Pretty much all the standard repos will have Bundler. But once you have Bundler, you go into the Jekyll directory and you just run bundle install. That'll install Jekyll. It'll install all the necessary Ruby dependencies in order for your theme to work. And at that point, you can actually test your site locally by running bundle exec jekyll serve. So like this one here, this is the actual public facing version of my website. But if I wanted to, I could just go into my project and run bundle exec jekyll serve like so, and then it'll actually serve the website locally so you can see what it'll look like and test it before you actually upload any changes or upload the website to something public facing. And it'll be available on port 4000 of localhost. So that would be like this. So as you can see, it's the exact same as the public facing one at the moment because it's, up to date, but that's how you can sort of see and test the sort of local version of it. Many of the themes, if you cloned a theme, will have some files, for example, in the underscore posts directory, like right here. That's an important directory. That's where all of your blog posts actually go. But a lot of these will have test posts to sort of show you what the posts will look like. So you may want to clean those up at that point there. Okay, this next part is on my Emacs setup. So in order for Emacs to work here, the Orgmode files written as the blog posts and as the pages need to be exported into the Jekyll directory. So it'll be something like this. So you have your project directory, and then you have the Jekyll directory and the org directory. The org directory will have org files in the underscore posts directory, and these will get exported to underscore posts inside of the Jekyll directory. Same thing with assets like images or other files. They might be referenced in your org files in like an assets directory, and you'd want them then exported to the assets directory in the Jekyll directory. In order to do this, you have to configure the org publish project alist variable. And so you need to have three things. Well, I guess you only need two, but it's convenient to have three. One of them will be the org files to be exported. And this is sort of the structure for it. You have the base directory, which is the org directory. And we're looking at files with the org extension. And then they just get published to Jekyll in sort of the same file structure as the org directory. The same thing is going on with the assets. So we got to pull in all the assets like CSS, PNG, JPEG, GIF, all the sorts of files that you may want to link to as well in those files and in those posts. Of course, you can add more files to here if you imagine that you're going to add more stuff there. And it's the same deal. We're taking from the org directory and we're publishing to the Jekyll directory. And then to publish both of these at the same time, we make one that is like the full publishing section with those two as components. The org section, in this case, org-librephoenix.com, and the assets section. So another thing, maybe you noticed, this is actually not a standard Emacs setq command. It's actually this weird like list thing starting with nil. So what's going on here? This is actually content from my .dir locals.el file, which is in the project root. And what a .dir locals.el file does is when you navigate to that directory and start doing stuff, it will automatically overwrite certain variables specified in the .dir locals file. And it can optionally change these also depending on the major mode. Nil would indicate every major mode, but you can specify whatever major mode you want here. But essentially all this is doing is whenever we navigate to the project directory with this dir locals el file, it will overwrite the org publish project a list with this content, which is all that we need for this project. And this can make it very easy and convenient to do this with multiple websites if you find that necessary. So at this point, you would be able to publish org files into the Jekyll blog by running org publish and then selecting the correct project. And just to show you how quick and easy that is, I'll open up Emacs, navigate to the Libre Phoenix project, and again, all I got to do once I'm done, say, writing a org blog post, say I make some edits to this here, is I just run org publish and then select librephoenix.com to publish those changes. So from here, essentially any Orgmode file that you write inside of this org directory will be published equivalently into an HTML file inside of the Jekyll directory. And to show you what I've got going on here, I have a 404 page, an about page, a blog page, a donate page, which is not live yet because I don't have any donation streams currently active, and then an index.org page for the sort of home page. And then of course I have the posts directory, but just focusing on these get exported into these HTML files. But one thing that you will notice about all of these is they have this begin export HTML block and then the hyphens with a bit of metadata. This metadata is called YAML front matter, and it tells Jekyll how to actually format the page finally when it gets exported into a static site. So for example, you'll see that the 404 page uses the base layout and it has a title of error code 404. The about page has the page layout and a title of about. The blog page has a layout of home and a title of blog. So what's going on here? Essentially, you specify the title and some more metadata, which we'll see later. Specify the title and the layout inside of this front section. And the layout is any layout from the _layouts directory in the Jekyll directory. And so the theme I'm using is called Minima v3. It's the sort of development version of Minima, which is the flagship theme of Jekyll. And it comes with 4 different page layouts by default. The base page layout is very, very minimal. It just has the header, the footer, and whatever is written in the content inside the HTML or Markdown or whatever. Then there's a page layout. The page layout is pretty much identical to the base layout, except it also includes the title, as you can sort of see here, page.title. Then we got the home layout. And this one is a little bit more fancy, but essentially what it does is it'll automatically add links to the latest blog posts, like I have right here, with only one blog post. And then lastly, there's the post layout, which adds all of the necessary features and metadata you would want to see in a post, kind of like here with the title and the date and all of that fun stuff. So back to this idea here, as you create these pages, you have to start with this export block of HTML and then include the YAML front matter in order for Jekyll to process it properly when it gets converted to an HTML file like this. You see it sort of keeps that YAML front matter. So then what about blog posts? So blog posts must have a specific format in order for Jekyll to process them properly. And the format is year, month, date, and then the post title .html. And then they also must be in the _posts directory, like we have here in the org directory and here in the Jekyll directory. So from here, posts can have a lot more metadata than these normal pages, and the front matter can get a little fancier. Like I have here as my default setup for a post, I have certain Emacs options like TOC nil and num nil. I found that TOC nil is actually required in order for it to work so that it doesn't export the table of contents before the front matter. And this just prevents numbering on headings. There's a bunch more metadata in the front matter in this HTML export as well. And then there'd be the start of the amazing post. And so with all of this stuff going on, the specific formatting with the specific date and the specific format of all the stuff that's necessary in the top of the Orgmode document, I decided to write a short function to automate this process. So essentially, when I'm in the project directory for the website, I can run this function, org jekyll new post, and all it does is it makes a new org file in the org posts directory. It names it appropriately for the day and a title that I specify, and then it just sets up this template like that, sort of automatically, which this is sort of the beauty of Emacs and Orgmode. You can just write functions like this real quick and get going up and running very efficiently. And just to show you it in action, I'm in Emacs here, and if I wanted to write a new blog post like this, I would just call the function with my key binding and just type my awesome new post title, and there it is. It sort of automatically formats it, a new awesome post, great. And from there I could go write it and export it, and it's all ready to go. Lastly, we'll just go over the GitLab pages setup, which I'll only go over very briefly because there are many tutorials out there on how this works, but I'll just show you how I did this. So this default setup has you creating a new GitLab project titled your username.gitlab.io, or if it's like a group or something, it would be the group name.gitlab.io, and you can then push your local repository, all that work, into the repo. From there, in order for it to be built on GitLab pages and hosted statically using GitLab, you need to use GitLab CI/CD by configuring the .gitlab-ci.yaml file. And this goes in the project root like this. Now, all of the guides that are out there that show you how to set up GitLab pages with Jekyll will have you using something like this. And it's kind of like the configuration for Docker Compose or something like that. You specify an image. So in this case, it's going to be the Ruby image because Jekyll is a Ruby program. We specify a before script. So this is what runs before it tries to actually build anything. So we need to get bundler and run bundle install to get all the dependencies, just like we did initially to get the website running locally. And then you'd build a GitLab pages website using this script. So bundle exec Jekyll build. The directory required is public because they'll only serve things from the public directory. And then all this stuff here. The artifacts would include this public directory and yada yada. That's just sort of the default thing that they give you. But this expects the entire project to be just the Jekyll directory. It doesn't expect this fancy Jekyll and org dichotomy that we have here. So in order to fix this, we just have to change some of the scripts around a little bit. Mainly this part in the before script, because bundle install will fail if it does not see the gem file. So it needs to run that script inside of the Jekyll directory. So as you can see here, I use pushd and popd to do that. And then similarly as well, when we're building the Jekyll site, we have to go into the Jekyll directory and build it still to the public directory, but since we're inside the Jekyll directory, you have to build it outside of there. But anyways, with that configuration, it should build on GitLab pages, and it'll automatically begin building. It usually takes like a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, if you're unlucky. And if you want the website to be publicly accessible, you want the repository to be publicly accessible as well, which I have my repo publicly accessible as well, which you can check out if you like. I'll link it in the description below, and it's also linked on the librephoenix.com website. If you want a custom domain, go buy a custom domain from a domain name registrar and go to deploy pages and click new domain. It'll walk you through how to do that if you want to do that. Some of the DNS configuration might take a while to get up and running, so be patient with it, but that's what you can do if you want a custom domain. One more thing that I want to mention, and this is something that I had a lot of fun doing with this website. See, like if you try to install Jekyll and set up your website even with the same theme that I have, Minima v3, yours is going to look a lot different from mine. And the reason is I spent a ton of time adding custom styles and customizing the CSS and SCSS files, and also changing the files in the includes directory. So the Jekyll themes like Minima v3 and many others will have a assets directory including CSS. They'll have a Sass directory which includes templated CSS like you can see here, and just by studying it a little bit and messing around with it, you can get some pretty cool stuff happening. Like for example, mine, I just copied the solarized themes and changed the colors around a little bit in order to make the Uwunicorn theme, which is the theme that my website is running right now. And I was also able to add some fancy stuff like this fancy faded background that you see here, just by adding in a little bit of CSS there. And you can do similar customizations in the includes block, changing what is included on the footer or the header or various other things. All the different themes will have their own unique things, and you can have a lot of fun tweaking things here and there to make it look exactly the way that you want it. Anyways, that was sort of a cursory overview. I know I probably swept through things really quickly here, and if you guys want me to do a bigger deep dive into exactly how I've done all of this, and maybe, you know, setting up a full blog from scratch, if that's something you guys would be interested in, let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you prefer to learn by just studying what other people do and looking through stuff, I have my source code available. I'll link that in the description down below. It's also on the blog, which I'll link in the description as well. And next time, we're going to be looking at some more NixOS. NixOS modular config next time, and I will include a blog post to go with it. So I hope that will all be helpful to you in your learning of technology. So as always, if you liked the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you disliked the video, please leave a dislike. Let me know what I can improve on here. And otherwise, have a great rest of your day. See you next time.